Alright, we're going to do a quick Photoshop tutorial on colorization. What I want you to do is go to Google and search for black and white rose. Here are the results that I come up with. If you go to Tools and change your size, it'll say size here, change it to at least medium. Large is even better. Let's just see what we get when we get large. Alright, so pick one of these images that is in black and white. I'm going to go with this first one because it looks easy enough, and click View Image. We're going to right click and copy the image, and now we'll jump over to our Launchpad and we're going to look for Photoshop. Some of you will have Photoshop CC, others still only have CS6. It doesn't matter. So I'll just look for the CS6 version here because that's what most of you have. Well, can't find it, so we're going to do CC. So, open Photoshop. Looks like it's going to force me to use CS6. Oh, there it is. So find Photoshop CS6. That's what it's going to, the icon's going to look like this. Go to File, New, and because you've copied that image, your preset should be Clipboard. If you say OK, now you're going to go to Edit, Paste. And there's your image. So what we're going to do is a really basic colorization of this black and white photo. So over here in Photoshop, these are your layers. Right now we have the layer we just pasted in of the flower as well as the background layer. And over here, these are your tools. We're only going to be using a couple tools today, but we are going to need new layers. So we're going to create 2 new layers. So I'll click this new layer button, which is right here by the little trash can icon. And I did it twice. I'm going to call this one Rose. And I'll double click in here and call this one Background. I'll just call it BG for background. Make sure you're on the Rose layer. And now go and find yourself a nice red color by clicking over here in your color swatch. Then sliding up to red and just pick something here in the red range. Now, grab your brush tool, which is located here, or you can press B on your keyboard. And as you can see, I have a very small brush right now, so I'm going to right click and increase the scale of that brush until it's just big enough that we can paint over this whole image. So now I'm going to start painting, and as you'll see, I can't really see what I'm doing, so let's go ahead and pause for a second and change our blend mode. So I'm going to go to my layer, and I'm going to change this to linear burn. Now as you can see, we can see through this color onto the rose. So go ahead and just kind of sloppy paint in the whole thing. We can clean up those edges later. Alright, now that that's done, you can try out a couple different blend modes if you want. Multiply often works pretty well. The linear burn works pretty well. So now what we can do is we can go back and we can clean up these edges. And one way to do that would be with a layer mask, and that's what I would like to practice. So down here in your buttons next to FX, you'll see this little square with a circle in it. Click that, and that'll add a layer mask right here. Now the way a mask works is anything that's white shows through, anything that's black gets erased. So I'm going to change my brush over to black and then more carefully go in and paint along the outside. Now you can use your zoom tool to zoom in and then use spacebar, hold spacebar down to drag around. So if you do this with your brush tool, now you can go in and just follow these edges with a black brush, which will erase. Now if you go too far like you did right here, if I just switch my colors over back to a white brush, I can paint that edge right back in. So you're going to go along and you're going to clean up the edges. I'm not going to bother in mine because it'll just take too much time for this demonstration. So now on our background layer, we're going to choose a color green and get that brush back, crank up the size, and basically we're going to use the multiply, and we're just going to paint in the background. I'm actually going to get a way bigger brush. There we go. Now, if you cleaned up all these edges, this is a very, 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 very basic, simple way to colorize a black and white image. So there you go.